Hey, thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about how to improve the tone of your speaking voice. Did you know that your speaking voice tone matters quite a bit? It depends on how people will perceive you, how they'll lead with you, or maybe not follow you at all. And so thank you for joining me. We're going to have some cool tips today. So let's talk about the importance of your vocal tone and why your vocal tone matters as a speaker. I've actually been in the audience when somebody stood up on stage and had a vocal tone that was so weird to us as listeners that nobody could pay attention. It was just something was wrong with that speaker's either vocal cord or just the way that they spoke in their tonality. The tonality matters. And I had never thought about that before until I heard this speaker on stage and everybody was snickering and laughing and kind of looking at each other. They had great content, but we couldn't really pay attention because of the sound of the voice. The tone matters. And I asked my coach, his name is Lou Heckler. If you check out Lou Heckler, he's one of the great coaches there is in all of speaking. Because Lou Heckler has one of the most beautiful speaking voices I've ever heard. And I remember asking Lou, I said, Lou, how did you come up with that voice? Is that how you were born? Like after puberty, you just got this beautiful, hi, I'm Lou Heckler. And this great resonance, this beautiful sound. And he said, Jason, I'll tell you the truth. I became a journalist and I started listening to myself on the radio and watching myself on TV, and I realized my voice didn't sound good. And so he started practicing his tonality. He would literally work on the way that he would say words, the speed and the silence or the loudness. And I mean, he was doing all these dynamics, but he chose a certain type and a style that would make it so everyone would always want to listen to him. And when you listen to him, go check out Lou Heckler, one of the great, beautiful speaking voices you'll ever hear. Tone matters. So when you think about the consequence of ignoring tone, you have to go way back to even like a political event where a guy was running for president, such as Richard Nixon. When he was trying to run for an election, he had a kind of a negative tone. The negative tone made it so nobody wanted to vote for him. And so it depends on how you respond to a question. If it feels like you're pointing at somebody, if you feel like you're attacking somebody, there's a big difference, even just as a parent. I mean, here we're going from the politics to parenting, but think about it. If I say to my kids, go to bed, that's intimidating. But if I say, go to bed, then they're like, okay. It's a huge difference. That's just tone. Let's talk about the 3 pillars of a great tone. The first pillar is pitch. This actually sets the emotional stage for what you're doing. When it comes to pitch, I'm thinking of Martin Luther King and I have a dream. He had great volume, obviously. He wasn't screaming, but he had a pitch that was, I have a dream. And he was up there in this place where he knew that it would cause something to stir within us. What a beautiful way of delivering something with his great voice. And so here's what I want you to try to do with your pitch. I want you to try to practice speaking in different ways, like up here and other times down here. Because those pitches, they do matter. And it could be voluminous, it could be something a little bit different than just the pitch, but I want you to go up here once in a while and say something really fast and then go down here and say something a little bit slower. That's how you can start to create your tonality. Next would be volume. Volume, of course, is where we enhance the sound of something. Whitney Houston did this perfectly when she sang the Star-Spangled Banner. If you haven't looked this up, it's incredible. She sang it perfectly, and it was because she had so much volume at the right spots, and yet she also had a declaration, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, and then she's going to gave proof through the night. So she's going up and big with her volume. She's bringing it, and then the planes fly over. Oh, bring you chills. Volume matters. And then there's pace. Think about the pacing of how you're speaking. Obviously, we've got pitch where we can talk high or low. We've got volume, we can talk big and louder or quieter, but then there's the pacing of things. One of my favorite examples is Steve Jobs. Yes, when he used to unveil all of his products at Apple, he had a certain pacing about him. And then he had certain pauses we're going to talk about in just a minute. But I love so much the way that he did this. Pacing truly does matter. And so to tune your tone, I want you to try some physical exercises. Really, this would just be vocal exercises. You could practice things like breathing. So when we're breathing, can we either breathe from up top or we can breathe from below. And when we breathe, we're supposed to expand our bellies, not necessarily just suck up. And so I hope that as I talk about Breathing. This can actually help the tone of the voice to change just a bit if we breathe a bit more and let the resonance come through our vocal cords. And then there are vocal warm-up routines we could go through, whether it's humming or I've actually done other videos about this. If you want to check it out on this very channel, go type in a title for how to change the tone of your singing voice. That's a fun one. And obviously I share a bunch of my musical impressions. You'll love that. I have another one as well which will help you, and it's titled How to Prepare My Voice for a Performance. I hope you'll go check those videos out. Those are going to help you to continue to expand the way that your tone works. Now let's talk about some of the advanced techniques in speaking and tonality. There's a certain way that you can use a microphone. Now if you have a microphone that's a wireless lavalier like this one right here, I can't do much dynamically with it outside of just making sure that I'm talking close to it. You see that? But if I talk over here, it probably changes the sound just a little bit. And so we need to know that our tools matter and make sure that we're using them properly. The way that you hold your microphone, if you're holding it in your hand, or the way that you utilize the different tools that you use, make sure to practice using them. I think quite a bit about the announcers at arenas. I've gotten to be the stadium announcer for certain games, and I've noticed the more that I lean into the microphone, it's sometimes called eating or biting the microphone, you really can lay into it and change the sound of your voice. Bring them out, how about this jazz? So you can lean into that and let the microphone do the work. Howard Stern does this very well if you're interested in listening to him use his voice so beautifully. Cadence and melody also matter. President Barack Obama, he had a speech quote that was so awesome. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Just by the way that he used his tone, his energy, the volume. Yes, we can. It made everybody say, yes, we can, and then they voted for him. And then there are things that are really overlooked, like the power of pausing. Pausing is really important when we speak, and it adds to our tonality, and here's why. Because then we have the opportunity to slow down and allow people to listen and consider what we said. I made another video about this if you want to go check it out. You just type in this title. How can you use pauses in public speaking? And I actually reference again Coach Lou Heckler in that presentation. I hope you enjoy that video as well. So what I'd love for you to do, if you would, is go into the comments, and I always respond to every comment, so please put in the comments who has some of the best tonality or some of the best voices in all of speaking or performing that you enjoy. I'd love to know who you like listening to, because there is something so refreshing about someone that has wonderful tonality, someone that chooses to speak so articulately. So go and put it in the comments, and I appreciate you engaging with me there. I hope that this video has helped you to consider how you can master your tone, as well as how it will help you in your public speaking. If you're interested in talking with me more, put in the comments how we can engage just by saying your favorite speaker, and I'd like to see how they match up with mine. Thanks for joining me today.